Welcome to the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio. We've got a fast-paced hour of fishing, hunting, and conservation covering the nation and the Northwest, including 13 extra minutes of local content you'll only hear on Seattle's Sports Radio 950 KJR.
Happy Saturday morning. I'm glad you're here because it's time to talk fishing, hunting, and the outdoors with you about the region you live and play in. At the end of our program today, we'll be talking to Tom Burlingame with XL Fishing Charters again about that special Marine Area 5 Seiku salmon fishery opening up next Saturday the 16th, where you can keep not one, but 2 hatchery Chinook as a reward for your travels to the Olympic Peninsula. The question you may have, though, about this fishery is exactly where to go fishing near Seiku. Tom is going to be happy to answer that question for you and throw in a couple of insider tips, too. I think you'll also be interested in what we've got for you at the bottom of the hour. Craig Dowdy is the owner of YJ Guide Service, and he's going to be taking folks fishing for channel catfish, where the Palouse and Snake Rivers meet in southeastern Washington. This isn't a fishery you hear much about, but it's a good one from both the shore and a boat in March and April, and Craig will break it down for you. Before we talk to Craig and Tom, though, it's time once again to tell you what's hot and what's not right here in the Pacific Northwest. This segment is brought to you every week by your Puget Sound area Sportsman's Warehouse stores in Everett, Silverdale, Puyallup, and Federal Way. And they actually have a Valentine's Day sale going on right now. So skip the flowers and chocolate and get your soulmate something they'll actually use. Fishing, hunting, or shooting gear and supplies for the outdoors from America's premier outfitter. We'll start things off checking in with NorthwestFishingReports.com, where the owner of Black Star Fishing shared a post about a good steelhead excursion to the Wynoochee River on the final day of January. He reports there is about a 50-50 ratio of wild versus hatchery steelhead in this southwest Washington River right now. He and his clients caught and released a stout 15-pound wild steelhead in the first hole they fished using tadpoles, and got a couple of smaller hatchery steelhead to take home fishing shrimp under floats. If you want to find out more details and see some photos of this fishing trip, check out Black Star Fishing's latest report on NorthwestFishingReports.com. Steelhead fishing is also picking up in Northwest Oregon. That's the word from the guide forecast published by Bob Rees, who says there has been good fishing for late-season hatchery steelhead on both the Wilson and Nestucca rivers near Tillamook, and it's no secret, so expect some crowds if you venture there. If steelhead fishing isn't for you, there's always squid, and hey, deep-fried calamari, what my dad used to refer to as sea Cheerios. They are delicious. You can jig for squid off a number of Puget Sound area piers. You'll want to go during hours of darkness, and you'll want to be fishing where lights are shining down into the water because those squid are attracted to those lights. If you're wondering what piers you should fish, Edmonds Pier is always a good bet, as are the Des Moines Pier, along with the Les Davis and Point Defiance Piers in Tacoma. If you want further info on squidding, go to the WDFW website, then go to the fishing page, and then go to the squid page. Yep, they've got a page for that. Check it out. We've got some not-so-good news to share on the bay clamming front. The tidelands at Dossie-Wallop State Park along Hood Canal, they're closed for clamming as of the 4th. Too much harvest from clammers has decreased the population of clams too much. The good news, there will be a short, late summer season tentatively scheduled for August 15th through September 7th, and a longer clam season is anticipated for next year. And finally, that special snow goose conservation hunt, it kicks off today in portions of Skagit, Snohomish, and Island counties and runs through the 20th. There are a number of areas that are closed, though, so be sure to check your regulation pamphlet before you head afield. And with that, you are now in the know about what's hot and what's not here in the Pacific Northwest.
That's your first local shot of the outdoors. Now let's see what's going on across the nation.
Backcountry hunters and anglers, the men and women working hard to keep public lands in public hands. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
Ready for more local fishing and hunting? You got it. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, right here on Seattle's Sports Radio 950 KJR.
For your next local shot of the outdoors, we're taking you over the Cascade Mountains to southeast Washington. We're taking you to the mouth of the Palouse River, where it flows into the Snake River, not far from Starbuck, Washington. The reason why? There's going to be some channel cat fishing opportunities there this spring. The person who knows all about it and can take you there for some fishing too is Craig Dowdy, the owner of YJ Guide Service. Craig, you've been doing this fishery for a long time, haven't you?
Yes, we have. We've been doing it probably total of 15 years and been guiding on it about the last 7 or 8.
So let's talk about these channel cats. What's the average size and what's the biggest one you've caught here?
Average size is 5 to 7. We get them a lot in the springtime in March and April, probably up to the mid 15, 16-pound range.
What are they doing here at the confluence of the river? I know they're not always there.
No, they're down there. I think for the most part they're down there eating the carp that are spawning, the eggs that are in there. So they're down that super shallow water where it's a little bit warmer than the rest of the confluence there.
And how do you go about catching these fish?
We fish them a lot with cut bait right on the bottom.
People always think of catfish as liking something stinky. So are you putting any sort of scent on them?
Yeah, we'll use a few scents here and there. But for the most part, it's just the key to it is having fresh bait.
Let's talk about tackle. I mean, when you're talking average fish, 5 to 7, and up into the teens, I mean, these catfish, they've got some pull. You're not going to exactly have a little trout rod for this, are you?
No, we use a lot of our walleye gear for them, though. So we use like a 7-foot medium action rod, just regular spinning gear with a lot of braid, 20-pound test braid. And then you use a 5/0, 6/0 circle hook, 2 ounces of weight, and you're channel catfishing.
What's a good day look like in terms of hooking into and catching a lot of fish? How many fish are we talking about?
An average day out there's 12 to 30 fish.
That would be a ton of fun. And now, is that per boat or per person?
That's usually the boat. You know, we'll fish 3-4 people in the boat. Some days it's more, some days it's less. It's just a day of fishing, but we've had days where we've had to empty the live well and go back.
All right, folks, as you just heard, this sounds like a whole lot of fun. And by the way, channel cats, good eating fish. If you want to book a trip, the website to go to, yjguideservice.com. That's yjguideservice.com. Contact Craig Dowdy, give him a call, and book your channel cat fishing trip now. Thanks, Craig.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Backcountry hunters and anglers, the men and women working hard to keep public lands in public hands. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. Join the Habitat Leader and help create wildlife habitat in your community. Go to pheasantsforever.org.
Don't leave yet. We've got one more local shot of fishing and hunting to wrap up the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio.
We're back with Tom Burlingame, the owner of XL Fishing Charters, talking about this special Seiku salmon season opening up February 16th and going through the end of April. Tom, great to have you back on the show.
Thanks, John. Good to be here.
People know to go to Seiku, but there's a lot of ocean out there in front of Seiku, and some listeners are probably wondering exactly where to go fishing if they want to take part in this fishery where they can take home 2 hatchery Chinook.
Yeah, John, there's a few real tried and true areas there in Seiku to fish.
I don't want you to give up all your secrets, but I'm going to ask for a couple here. If somebody's going out on their own, where would you recommend they go?
The first place I would look is just around the corner there at the caves, what they call the caves, and troll west towards what they call the preacher's house. It's a big yellow house on the shore there, and you want to be in anywhere from 80 to 150 feet of water.
Okay, silly question. Why am I trolling west? Am I going to turn around and troll back or not?
Well, it isn't a silly question. It's a really good question. Actually, you may not want to troll west. It depends on which way the tide is going. You always want to be trolling with the current. So if the tide is flooding in, you want to start down by the preacher's house or down by the point there and troll back towards the caves. Vice versa, if it's an outgoing tide, you want to go the other way.
is this the place to go throughout this season? Is it going to hold up all the way into April?
It normally does. It's a really good place to troll because there isn't a bunch of structure on the bottom to get your downriggers balls caught on. You want your gear right next to the bottom, so there isn't a lot of structure there. Other spots further east up by Pillar Point and stuff have a lot of structure. It's a little tougher. So for your first time, I think it's a great place to start.
I do want to throw something out there, though. I mean, it costs a lot of money for fuel and to trailer your boat out there and everything else that goes along with it. Your rates are pretty darn reasonable. It might be worth just booking with you.
Oh, we think so. We try to keep our rates within reason, and it's well worth the value.
So whether you bring your own boat or whether you're going out with Tom for salmon, you've got an idea of where you're going to be fishing off of Seiku to get some of those salmon in the boat. If you want to book a trip, go to xlfishingcharters.com. That's xlfishingcharters.com and book a trip now for this winter Seiku salmon season. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, John.
That's all for this week, but don't worry. We'll do it all again next Saturday morning from 7 to 8, right here on Seattle's Sports Radio 950 KJR.